So hi from the team at Lyme Disease UK. We've had some amazing news that we wanted to share with the whole Lyme disease community in the UK. A group of guys are going to take part in the Talisker Whisky Transatlantic Challenge. They're busy in training for the race in 2024. They'll be rowing the Atlantic starting in December of that year. We're absolutely made up to find out that one of the charities that they would be raising money for is us. So we invited them here tonight to talk about their team, their hopes, how they're training, and give our community a little overview of this massive challenge they're taking on our behalf. So they are Team Seesaw. Their boat will be called Audrey. Audrey will actually be going out this year with another team, but then the guys will take that boat next year. So they're presently in Teignmouth in Devon, doing a series of mandatory training courses to get rid of for this massive challenge. And here to chat to you and tell you all about their challenge is John, Niall and Sam. So John, Niall, Sam, Lyme Disease UK community. Would one of you or all three of you just like to introduce yourself and say what your aim is, why Lyme disease, anything that you think that the community would like to hear? Maybe a few lines from you.
Sure. Okay, hi, right. I'm Sam Webber. I'm 50 years old, married with 2 children, and I have been known to do the odd fundraising challenge over the last few years. Rowing across the Atlantic has been really just a dream, nothing more than that for a couple of years, until I got an email from Niall, and that was just out of the blue. I'd just registered some interest with Atlantic campaigns that I might be interested if a team needed a crew member, and I got an email a couple of months ago, and it was like a dream come true now. And obviously, as I've been introduced to John, and we understood, why we're going to be rowing. Obviously, introduced me to Lyme disease and John's very personal story. To the disease itself and the impact it's had on his family, and so it's made it a really personal thing for me now as well, as I've got to know John more and more, and I'm absolutely delighted to be rowing across the Atlantic and going through all the pain and suffering that entails, as I've learned a bit more this week. And I genuinely can't wait. So that's me.
That's brilliant. We've got lots of questions to ask you. So do you want to go next, Sam?
Hi, I'm Niall. I live in Southport, up on Merseyside. I'm again same with Sam, married, 2 children. I kind of thought about this challenge around about 4 years ago, and immediately said yes to it, without kind of looking at kind of the responsibilities and everything else that goes with it. But at no point have I ever said no to it. I may have wavered, but I've never said no to it. And the further we've gone in to actually have a look at, see what's involved, the more it just captivates you. It just brings you in, and it brings you in slowly, and it entices you in. And, the passion for it builds and everything. And that's a slow burner. And, I just needed to find like-minded people to actually come on board, excuse the pun, and join me in the journey. And that's where we are in a minute. I'm not sure if your viewers are going to be aware that this is a 3,000-mile race. It goes from La Gomera in Canary Islands all the way to beautifully finishing in Antigua. So we'll have a few days, hour, very nice. And it is a race. And there are lots of different crews that go out. Varying classes, like singles, pairs, trios. We're going as a 4, just like our 4th member can't be here tonight. It's extremely looking forward to it. So yeah, very, very happy. Yeah. I'm pass on to John.
Yeah, thank you, Niall. Yes, so I'm John Watling. I live in the lovely National Trust village of Laycock in Wiltshire. I'm 56 years of age, and I'm a jeweler. And I was drawn to this challenge. Sadly, I have a 23-year-old daughter, Yasmin, who's 4 years deep now into chronic Lyme disease. It's, as a lot of you guys out there will sadly know, if you're unfortunate enough to be stuck with this, it can be not a great place to be. I suppose selfishly as a parent, certainly both my wife and I, sometimes you feel a little bit helpless. And little did I know, really, I was looking for something, looking for a challenge. I had a friend, David, who did the challenge last year, and along with my desire to do something, that certainly lit the flame. Then the opportunity, and it was quite obvious and clear that if I was going to do it, let's raise money for a good cause. And immediately Lyme Disease UK came on my radar. So that's what we want to do. I mean, and our goal is, we've talked to all of the guys at Lyme Disease UK. There is the potential there for us to become the biggest single individual donor ever to the charity, and that's what our goal is. We will do our absolute utmost to make it a successful campaign.
Really, really sorry to hear that your daughter's been through and is going through Lyme disease. As you know, the whole team at Lyme Disease UK have all been on the same journey. I'm 20 odd years in. And if it gives you any hope, I am about 70–80% of my old self. It took a long while, but have got a life back. And I know a lot of people who miss that early window of treatment do go on very long journeys. So do give our love to your daughter.
Thank you. Thank you.
I suppose the obvious question to ask you is, how do your families feel about this?
Right. Well, as I alluded to earlier, I've undertaken various fundraising activities that have taken me to Argentina and Africa climbing mountains. It's taken me to the Amazon rainforest doing the jungle survival course. And so my wife is kind of on board with it. Although this is such a big challenge. I mean, this is the Everest of all challenges, but on water. It is dangerous. It's a long time out of work. It's a long time away from the family. We're talking about 45 to 55 days of rowing. We've got 2 weeks that we have to be in La Gomera beforehand, which is mandatory for kit and safety reasons. And then we've got to recover when we get to Antigua. So it's a huge commitment, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without my family being on board and supporting me. So
yeah, likewise. I think it's like Sam, I've done adventures before. I was away running through the Sahara, and again, it's just something. I have young children. I have twin boys. They were 10 at the time. No, they were younger than that. They were 8 at the time in the desert. And all they could see was, a great support. It was daddy doing something, absolutely wild. It was going somewhere where perhaps, nobody else on earth had ever stood. And that kind of idea, it's kind of been reflected and mirrored in the same thing with the Atlantic Challenge. It's, as I say, we're away for 3 months. That's 3 months away from family. But, and I suppose the worst thing is we're away at Christmas Day, and we're away for New Year's Day as well. To have with young children, that's going to be pretty wrenching, but we will be able to speak to them. We can speak to them on a daily basis. We can send them. We will have something called a BGAN unit on board, so we can send WhatsApp messages. We can send live video. So at any point, we can contact our families, and they can actually see us rowing and doing whatever.
Be reassured. Be reassured that
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Julia, I've never done anything like this. The thought of running a fun run or even a half marathon was never on my radar. So I don't have, my family doesn't have previous experience of me going off and doing something a little bit crazy. When I first suggested to the family that I was going to do it, they thought I was mad and essentially said no. The truth of it is, I actually then signed up. It did take me about 2 weeks to tell my lovely wife that I'd signed up to do it. Yeah, I waited till we were sat in the living room with a nice cup of tea, nice relaxed one evening. But I suppose selfishly, I had a drive to do it, and my family are 100% behind me. It's an outlet for us to feel something, a positive journey and a positive story with what Yasmin endures. Us and the guys will be at sea for 6 weeks. Poor old Yazzie gets up with us every morning, and she feels exhausted, tired, and all the different things that you guys have to go through. So if we can put anything positive back in that direction, it's our honor to do it, really.
I think it's an amazing way of raising awareness of Lyme disease, because as you probably know, there's a lack of awareness in the UK, and it is a preventable disease. And I'm sure all of us who have been down this journey wished that we had that level of awareness that us as a team are constantly pushing out to the public and health professionals. And hopefully the higher profile we get this disease, there'll be less and less people taking the journey that your daughter and the team have been on, and the many people who follow our community. It's, you know, we really do have to work, and an event like this is just like, you know, just fantastic to get the message out there. So you've answered some of my questions already, because obviously we now know why you decided to support Lyme disease charities. I know you're doing mandatory training at the moment, so how's that going? Is that tough? Is it health and safety stuff? Is it, you know, that sort of slant on what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, and we started off this week, as I say, there's currently there were 7 to 9 courses that are compulsory that we have to do. You know, we're going to be relying on each other, so it makes sense that every single one of us on board, you know, passes these exams and these practical tests and these theories and everything. I suppose our one biggest one, I've just made just a small list of, you know, the most important ones we've done this week, but our essential navigation at sea. So we've essentially planned our course across the ocean with a series of waypoints. So, you know, we're prepared for that. I think each one of us is fairly proficient now in navigation. You know, I've been a skipper. I've been sailing for a long time, but you know, there's certainly things I've learned this week on this course that, you know, I'm putting this massively into practice. You know, 1,500 miles into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, I'm going to be relying on what I've learned in the classroom this week, and especially, you know, we've done our first aid, and just today we've received all our certificates. And you know, just proving how proficient we are in the subject. So yeah, do you want to talk about our
I mean, the interesting part about this week is I didn't realize we were sharing a house with a Dutch team of ladies that are going to be traveling next year. There's 2 solo people that are going to be rowing, you know, so that takes and then we've got one of the guys that's going to be the oldest pair if he's successful next year, so he's going to break a record. And more importantly, I think collectively, we're feeding off their energy. Yeah. Because, you know, when you're at home and you talk to your wife, we're 2.5 years away or 2 years away. They don't want to hear it every day. They're not interested. And yet it's a big thing in our lives. Every day I wake up, every day I'm in the car and I think about it. Okay, but I don't want to tell everybody about it. Whereas we're in a small house in Teignmouth where I can shout it.
Have I told you? Around the Atlantic.
So we're talking to people, and then we're sharing things, you know, and this last sort of 5 or 6 days has made it really real. Yeah, you know, it's made it almost tangible. And so although we're still a long way away, we're actually not in realistic terms. So I think this whole week, apart from bonding with my new buddies and sharing funny stories that don't have to be repeated again.
I have been sharing a room with Sam, and Niall was only just next door. So,
but it's been really empowering just to feed off the energy of people that are travelling a lot sooner. So that's been brilliant.
That sounds really fantastic, because the camaraderie is what every big challenge is about, isn't it? So
sure.
Do you, I know, you know, that you're bonding as a team, but are there nerves underneath even now? Just that little bit of
yeah, absolutely. We did Sea Survival was one of the day courses we did this week, where they take you down to the local swimming baths. They inflate an 8-man life raft. You have to wear clothes or a sort of trousers and warm jacket. You jump into the pool, you deploy your life jacket, you climb into the life raft, you practice bringing an unconscious casualty into the life raft. I've never done anything like that before. So that was essential and sobering. So yeah.
Yeah, that really hits home, doesn't it? What possibly could happen. Hopefully it won't, but you know, that really does hit home, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I might add that, you know, on top of what John said, and something to bring it home, we took the boat out on Lake Windermere for the first time about 10 days ago, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think what really surprised us the most was this is our home. This is our home for 6 to 7 weeks. And there's not an awful lot of room
It's
on
small.
it. It's extremely small. And it rocks, So if somebody moves in their cabin at night, our boat turns.
Bit tipsy.
So it tips over. So
It's
you know,
like a giant paddleboard.
yeah. So yeah.
And I think also what's brought it home this week is talking to people that have rowed across the Atlantic. And although it's very publicised, if you go onto the websites, you'll find the kind of dangers that are out there. And obviously, you've got to mitigate that when you discuss that with your family. And I'm going to be going to my son's schools and doing some talks to the children there. So you want to make it a bit of a story, but you don't want to frighten anybody. And the reality is, you're going to get 30-foot swells. And when you're in a tiny little boat, a 30-foot swell is huge, you know. And you're going to get, you know, giant marlin. You know, there's stories of people being followed by great white sharks, you know, for 3 or 4 days. They're not aggressive to them, but you feel very vulnerable. You know, you've got massive, great big ships. I mean, we saw an exploded view of the Atlantic, a bit like you do over England with all the planes that fly around it. And then you see the exploded view of all the boats that are there. And you actually think there's hundreds and hundreds of boats, but they're all massive and they might not see us. So there are the obvious threats of capsizing. There's the obvious threats of bad weather. And we've all, you know, there's obviously a lot of experience and expertise out there, but it's all the unknowns, like being harpooned by a giant marlin.
Sam, you didn't tell me any of this. Or you know.
So it's in the public domain. So now you have to have that conversation with your wife, with your children, and saying, look, this is different. You can contact us. It is supervised, albeit you're not going to get any quick rescue. So it is dangerous. So you'd be foolish not to be nervous every time you look out to the sea. Yeah. But the reality is, if we've done our training, we're confident and we've built a very solid team, it's not just an individual out there. There's actually 4 people that have all got our own interests at heart.
So is there some sort of backup thing that if you got into trouble? No.
So what is your first method of help and support? You have a VHF radio, and we did a VHF radio operators course and we've all got a certificate for that. So you go on the radio and if it all goes super bad, you play a mayday, you make a mayday call. You're then reliant upon any large ships that are in the area that would be monitoring the radio, who could potentially come to your aid, and or there's 2 Talisker and Atlantic campaigns send 2 safety boats out. Well, when we say 2 safety boats, basically they're 2 sailboats that go along with parts of the flotilla of rowing boats, but the flotilla of rowing boats spread out. You know, when the first boat arrives in Antigua, once it's done its 3,000-mile crossing, the boat at the back of the fleet won't even be halfway. So that's a spread of over 1,500 miles. You won't see another one of the rowing boats once you're 2 or 3 hours out of the Canary Islands. So yeah, you are isolated. Is the bottom line. You take a load of safety kit with you. You've got a life raft. You've got various things. But yeah, you don't want things going wrong. Number one, and if they do, it won't be any fun, that's for sure.
No. Do you sort of do any, I know it's difficult, but is there any sort of training you can do regarding coping with isolation? You know, because
I've got these guys +1 where we're going to be on top of each other.
I think the simple thing is, when you tell somebody you're rowing across the Atlantic, apart from the obvious cliche, you're mad, is you need to be fit. And the reality is, of course, but it's an absolute given that you've got to be fit. Okay, so let's just assume we're all fit. Then the next big challenge is, are we mentally prepared for the isolation, for the monotony of rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Are we prepared for bad weather? And I mean bad weather, not storms. I mean bad weather to us means no wind and no tide. So therefore we are stuck there in a boat that's rowing like in soup. So therefore we're using all our energy and we're trapped. We can see the other boat, so we're in a race. So naturally, if we've put a lot of effort in and we're ahead, and then all of a sudden we just happen to hit the doldrums or whatever, and now we can't row and we see all the other boats taken. That takes a lot out of you mentally. And we've spoken to other boats, so mentally is exactly the thing that could make or break a team, not the physicality.
Do you have any fears? I seem to remember seeing who were the two rowers?
James Cracknell and Ben Fogle.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know. I certainly have watched a documentary about that when they did it, and their relationship became really strained. Are you prepared for that? That that you might just get thoroughly sick of one another, because that is a challenge. That is a challenge.
I might add, I think, although they've known each other, both Ben Fogle and James Cracknell have very two different outlooks on life.
Yeah, they do.
One's an Olympian athlete, the other one is quite placid and quite. And any challenges that they've ever done before, I think Ben Fogle was fairly well. What's the word? He kind of knew how James Cracknell was going to act. He needed to come in first. He's a champion. He wanted to be the winner in something. And we're all happy. We've talked about how we want to cross this ocean. Not in a race. Well, sorry, not in a race, but of course we want safely. And if we can do that, great, fast. That's brilliant. If something happens, we're okay. We're okay with any eventuality. So I think I'm right there, chaps.
And I think it's thrive, not just survive. Yeah. And if the dolphins come along, we will swim with the dolphins. So we'll take a few minutes off the oars and enjoy the whole experience. So we're pretty well aligned.
We'll definitely have to make a date to repeat this conversation.
Absolutely.
Early in 2020. And then we'll compare the two recordings.
I'm more scared of that, by the way.
Yeah. So the most important thing for anybody who's interested in your challenge, obviously when you send us stuff on your challenge, we'll be sharing it to our community. But are you going to set up something where people can actually follow your challenge? Is there some sort of platform where people can track you and see, because that would be really interesting for a lot of people?
Absolutely. So the boat itself will have a tracker on it. So there's an app which can be downloaded onto people's phones to do that. The organisers are a company called Atlantic Campaigns. So you can Google that, or you can put that in your Instagram, and so that will allow you to follow this year's race, next year's race, and then allow to follow our race. And we've got a website set up which we'll be adding content to and making that grow. Our website address is, remind me now,
www.teenseesaw.co.uk.
Okay, well, obviously we'll put that out with this link. So I suppose to tie up, how if people want to follow your journey, how can they donate to your cause? Will you be setting up some method of donation, or that we can?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, because we're all together at this moment, and that's kind of rare for us at the minute. We can't really use the evenings to actually talk about strategy and how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. Yeah. And even that was our topic yesterday. It was just how do we start raising funds? Is it going to be on our webpage? Is it going to be direct to you? Is it going to be coming to our war chest? And then it gets divided, and that's to be decided, but that'll be done very, very quickly.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet with the final decision.
And
so anything you set up that you'll pass on to us for us to share, that'd be wonderful. So I just want to say it's been amazing to meet you all. I know that we are missing Andrew
Carnegie.
Yeah, we're missing Andrew for this little video today. So I want to say hello to Andrew if he watches it, and we hope to see him when we meet up again after the race. And all the team at Lyme Disease UK want to give you a massive thank you. We're a bit sort of, I don't know what the word is, amazed or in awe. Or
there you go, in awe would be suitable, wouldn't it? There you go, in awe.
I'm very good at puns. Yeah, we're just amazed, at what you're going to attempt. And so from everybody in the team and everybody in our community, we just want to say a massive thank you. And it was great hearing your stories today, and we look forward to sharing things all about your amazing journey over the next couple of years. It'll be just great. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.